Okay, everybody, we should be live for our show. Welcome to the Safely Extreme podcast here on the Game Wisdom channel, where each week we discuss game industry and game dev topics. I am, of course, Josh Placer, and joining me is my co-host and the game developer, Shark.
Hello, everybody. And if anybody's wondering who's safe and who's extreme, usually I'm extreme and Josh is safe. But, sometimes those roles reverse. Sometimes I'm the safe one and Josh is the extreme one.
All right, so for this week, I guess the big news is I'm on new headphones now that I'm still trying to get used to. And I have my new mic setup. All that's left is to put up the remaining paneling, and then things will be somewhat set up here. But still trying to get used to these ones. They're like hung a little bit differently, so it feels weird using the last set of headphones for like 4 years.
Yeah, I can imagine that. They just feel different.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Pony. So, other than that, what's anything that's been going on? Well, still working on fine-tuning the book. We're at the point where we're trying to decide what color to make it. You know, the very tricky topic there.
Yeah, I mean, we have some really massive news that you can actually play as Bowsette in Breath of the Wild now with the mod. That's top news right there.
Mm-hmm. And let's see, of course, in terms of big game releases, we had that whole Genshin Impact game being released as kind of the inspiration for today's major topic. And I don't know, like, it's an okay game for me, I guess. What did you think of it when you watched it?
I mean, it didn't seem bad or anything, but it was very hero collector-y kind of thing, and very, and hero collector is like one of the leading ways like abusive monetization happens. Of course, you can do hero collection without doing that, because I mean, I'm sort of doing that in my current one, because it's a CCG, and you pretty much can't do CCGs any other way.
Yeah.
But there are ways to do it unabusively, but generally, that's like the best way to abuse it. Like we've seen that, people have theorized, or I don't even know if this has become reality at this point, or close to reality anyway. But Mortal Kombat and stuff like that, they said like those games are ripe for it, kind of thing. Just abusive monetization. You can't have this character unless you buy it, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then shift the meta to where this character is more powerful, and then shift the meta again and then again and again and again, and make it very pay to win kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And especially you have the double aspect of it being a competitive fighting game. So if you don't get those characters and you go to a tournament, you're going to be in very big trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was reading a piece on Polygon about Genshin Impact. Someone was saying that Breath of the Wild didn't work for them and Genshin Impact did. And reading the piece just made me think about just, how little I think people understand, the mobile progression curve that these games, exemplify.
Yeah. And you find that in a lot of free-to-play games. Not all of them, but a lot.
Frame data DLC, that is great, Pony.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the person saying, this game, I get to upgrade my weapons, and it makes me feel more powerful. I'm reading that going, yeah, that's RPG progression, that's scaling progression, that's how these games work.
Yeah, that's imbalance. If it's a competitive atmosphere anyway, which is the reason that's where they get into pay to win kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they don't even have to completely lock that off for that to sort of be that, they can still allow free players to get it as long as they grind for it, but they're going to be screwed until they're able to grind for it.
Yeah. And of course, when we were on stream, I didn't get any 5-star pulls, and the second I ended the stream, I got a 5-star pull an hour later. But the problem for me with these games is I've been playing a lot of them in my kind of quote-unquote spare time, or just my unwind time. And I get that initial, endorphin rush, and then it's like, Okay. So now what you got? And most of the games don't have anything else beyond that.
Yeah. Well, a lot of mobile games, sadly, really go for the endorphin, all that stuff kind of thing, and they just nail you with it, periodically to, but they do it in a non good way.
Hmm.
Like the best games out there do similar things, but they do it in a completely different way. You know, it's a different thing from like, oh, here's this cool mechanic. I'm really, really enjoying it, kind of thing. Versus, here's this thing that I'm obliged to hit, and if I do not hit it, then I lose progress, kind of thing. I have to log in every couple hours to hit this thing and spend the stamina or spend this or renew this, or else I can't keep on going, kind of thing. Versus, hey, this is a really fun mechanic that I really, really enjoy, kind of thing. Like they're doing the same things in your mind, but one is manipulative and the other is good game design.
Yeah. There's a difference pretty much between a game that you want to play because it's enjoyable versus you need to play it or you're going to fall behind. And
Yeah.
that, I think, is that very big distinction that a lot of people don't understand about mobile and free to play design. But you'll see people again defend a lot of mobile practices and monetization. I mean, how many times have we heard people say, if it's just cosmetic, it must be okay?
Yeah, but I've learned that cosmetics is the worst kind of monetization out there because it is the most abused. Because the fact is not only is it abusive in game, but it's abusive in real life. Because like there's been many many stories to come out that kids are bullying other kids, and we were talking about bully earlier today in the Discord kind of thing. But kids are bullying other kids because they don't have the skins that they have. It's like, oh no,
I
no.
just wonder, like, if this was happening when I was in school, would I be like the most popular kid because I was like the best player? Or would I be the loser because I didn't spend money on free to play games? I'm not sure.
You would be the loser because you didn't spend
Damn.
money.
But better yet, I could hustle people and think, "Oh, I'm just some horrible player. I'll pay you $50 that I won't beat you or something like that." And I get the money,
Then they would hate you even more because,
and then I'll be rich.
well, you'd be rich for a 10-year-old because you'd have
Yeah.
like $10
Hmm.
because everybody bet their 25 cents on you, and
There we go. I'll be the playground hustler there.
yeah.
Yeah, and I was watching people play Genshin Impact, and they're spending like hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like at one point, I love this. Like this is how you know there may be a problem with the game that the bank turned off their debit card because they thought there was a fraud alert because they were spending so much on a game from China.
Well, I mean, yes and no, because I mean, I've had my bank account shut off my credit card for for stupid things before, like when I ordered a computer and it's like, oh, we've never seen this website before, it's like it's Newegg. Everybody's seen Newegg before. How have you never seen Newegg before? Well, we just never seen it before, and you spent more than $500. It's like, yeah, it's computer parts.
Yeah, you can buy a top-of-line computer for $200, right?
And it's like, yeah, they shut off my card, and they didn't even tell me about it. They didn't even tell me about it. Newegg came to me and he's like, yeah, the charge isn't going through, kind of thing. And I get in a call with them and we go over it several times, and it's like, they should be working. They're like, well, you're going to have to call the bank and find out why it's not working. I called and got phone tagged for like 30 minutes to an hour until I finally got somebody to talk to, and then they were like, "Yeah, we got it off because we seen all $500 being over $500 being spent or to a website we've never seen before." And I'm like, oh. So like the second when I built this computer, I made sure to call them right when I ordered and be like, "Listen, I put through an order to Newegg for like $700-800. Do not stop the payment. Let it go through." Actually, I think I called it before I actually placed the order. I can't remember, but like they're like, "Oh, you've ordered from there before. We're not going to do that." I was like, "Really?" So just because I ordered there from before, it wouldn't matter if I spent $1 million there. You're just going. It's just because it was the first time. They're like, "Yep." I was like, "Oh, great protection there."
Oh yes, and so much of going back to what Pony was saying about having to schedule your life around these games. I've grown to hate dailies, weekly challenges. I just hate that stuff so much. Oh yeah, and of course. Yeah, and that's another really good point there. Like one guy was like, "I spent all this money in this game. Could you like and subscribe to my channel?"
Yeah. Here's a question for you, Josh.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know, all the, you've got to do these things before this time, is abusive kind of thing. But what do you think about just purely a daily login bonus kind of thing?
I think that's okay if it's one and done. Like, I can just literally, turn my phone on. I don't even have to look at it, get the thing, and then turn it off.
Yeah.
I think that is okay. But when you force the player to do "Oh, you need to do this, and this," and it takes 20 to 30 minutes, and if you don't do it every day, you lose out. That's a bit of a problem.
Yeah, but what if they, what if it's, like how Hearthstone does their quest kind of thing?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what if they do their quest? You do a quest kind of thing, but you don't lose them after every day, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think we need to summon Ramin. I think. Oh, wait, did the footage for it?
And I'm not seeing it on my side.
It looks good on mine. Yeah, as I was saying, we need to get Ramin back because he's the guy to go to when we talk about monetization in these kinds of games.
Yeah, Ramin definitely knows his stuff when it comes to this kind of thing.
I mean, I think I said this in my review of Genshin that if we look at this purely from a mobile perspective, it's probably one of the best mobile games on the market, just in terms of content to price. But in terms of we compare to everything else, it doesn't really I think fly in that regard. Some people again are saying that it's better than Breath of the Wild, or it's very similar to it, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't see any way that it could be better than Breath of the Wild. It has more. It's definitely more addictive than Breath of the Wild for sure, because
definitely.
They've applied the mobile addictive qualities to it. And maybe your average consumer that doesn't know anything about game design can be is confusing addiction for goodness kind of thing. But that's probably the issue there. It's probably that they're confusing what for what, and because they don't know. All they know is that they played this game for this many hours, and they played this game for this many hours. Yeah, basically Stockholm Syndrome kind of thing, Pony.
And again, what we said before, I forgot the term of it. A sunk cost fallacy, Thank you, Pony said, just as I was trying to come up with it.
Actually, he said it before you, because that's in here looking at the chat.
And, the sunk cost fallacy of these games is real. And, I feel some of the mobile games I've played, but in the same breath, it's like I don't want to be forced to play this game. And I think like another really good kind of comparison here is when we played that game Web the other night from the Steam Autumn Festival. That we play that game and we could just sit there and just like mess around with those web physics for 20-30 minutes because it was fun to play.
Yeah.
Nobody was forcing us to make that stuff. Factorio is another good example. Imagine a Factorio where they say every day you must sign on, you need to build a 10-piece assembly line or you won't get a cool new toy or something like that.
Or if you don't do that, that's how you earn your potions, kind of thing. If you don't sign in every day and build that 10-piece, you don't get any potions for that day, and you can't make any.
Yep. And and I'm seeing that with that Genshin Impact, that I'm starting to see where, the gears are rubbing against each other in terms of how the grind works. And there's suddenly, I think, a greater topic talking more about what this kind of mobile design is, or what kind of mobile progression really means. Because, like I said, a lot of people, it just, completely enraptures them, enwraps them, and they don't really see the forest for the trees.
Yeah. I want to hit on Ford's point about the problem with dailies is they don't actually help. I mean, some of them don't. I mean, certainly some of them don't. I mean, some of them do, though. Like, like if you look at Magic the Gathering Arena, when you get your dailies in it, you get a daily. You get what is it? I think you get a random card every day, but you get rares and uncommons and even mythics in there. And not only that, but you also get you get your gold coins from your quest and everything that you get that don't fall out after a day. They fall out after you get too many quests, kind of thing, which you get quests daily, kind of thing. And the thing is, though, is that once you use that gold to get buy packs and everything, you get buy packs and you unlock like a choose it your own card kind of thing. And you're right, that's not the normal kind of thing. And the normal sucks, but and that's probably the reason why you're saying that the dailies don't actually help, because they usually don't, because that's really kind of the exception to the rule.
Yeah. And the thing, like, again, with like these kinds of drop, like the whole drop rate kind of design, like, again, like people, it hooks them so easily, but it's one of those things where, again, like people like you and I, like we're all mean, we know how this works behind the scenes. We know how these designs capture people and keep them entertained. So, like, for me, it's like, and I was going to make a post, but I was like, if I get 1-star character in a game, I'm like, eh. If I get a 5-star character, I'm like, eh. Like, it doesn't do anything for me. Like, it doesn't, like, I don't jump up and down. I don't get super excited. And I see these people play these games spending thousands of dollars to get a character that they may or may not ever use beyond just this video. And I'm like, I can barely muster up the energy to spend a full price on games I do like. What makes you think I'm going to spend $1,000 on a mobile game?
Yeah. I mean, I have, I'm currently playing a Bleach mobile game, and, it's definitely got a lot of abusive stuff in it. It's far, far from the worst kind of thing. And, I purposely let myself fall down the rabbit hole of paying, I'm definitely no whale or anything, but I'm certainly a pretty high VIP rating kind of thing.
Your name's not a whaley whale?
No. It's Sharky Shark.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, the, falling down that hole has, got me into, like, I see it from their perspective. Like, I see why they get excited over these things, because, like, they call them banners, which are just time limited loot boxes, basically.
Yeah.
That are set to specifically make you spend X amount of dollars, and then after you spend X amount of dollars, you'll get the thing that you're wanting, kind of thing. Like they'll have a character like Old Man Yamamoto, and you'll have to spend. They give you these rewards. Like after like 10 summons, you'll get like two parts of them. After like another 30, you'll get another 2 parts. After 50, you'll get another 2 parts. After and they'll have this checklist all the way up to I think like 500 or so. And then when you look at it, and it says on the thing that every time you do a spin of 10, basically open 10 loot boxes at the same time, that you'll get an automatic shards of Ben Yamamoto, and it'll be 2 or 3. And then basically it's set up so that you can basically calculate it out that every time one of these things come out, you're going to need roughly, I think it's like 200 to 230 loot box openings, doing 10 at a time to get this character. So, and every time it falls in that bracket, I mean, there's a slight bit of RNG to it, but it is pretty much locked in to you're going to spend this amount of money to get this character kind of thing. And it's not even random, so to speak. It's a non-random loot box kind of thing of you pay this much to get this character. But if you want, a higher star rating of that character, you're going to have more shards kind of thing. Of course, you can get, like after the banner ends or even before the banner ends, you can have some Omni shards, which are just universal shards to upgrade any character kind of thing. But like falling down that rabbit hole has really, like let me see what they do, because like from the consumer side, because like I get a really good, like I see a character I really want. It's like that's going to be really good on my team, and I really really want him, and then I just get all excited the second that it comes up. Like the nail banner is coming up, and I absolutely have to have her for the new setup I'm doing, because she's like the core of my new setup that I'm working on. So like I'm really excited for her to come in. I think like 3 days on my server, and I'm going to end up spending a lot of currency on her. But that said, is I already have a lot kind of in backup kind of thing that I've earned and saved up for free kind of thing, preparing for this kind of thing. So I don't spend $5 million on this character. I've got like I think like 110 of the free summon shards, and then I've got like 18,000 of the jade saved up to buy the loot boxes with. And then when they do it, they also give a refund thing, so that the more jade you spend, the more you earn back through the refund thing. And it's really abusive, but like falling down that rabbit hole has really gave me the perspective of the way they get in there and the way that I am addicted to it. Like there is definitely the addiction there, and
yeah, and like, and I think like to Pony's point about never being satisfied, I think that's a very big point, because one of the things like for me is when I get those rare characters, I get those rare weapons, instead of making me go, oh, I get to play more of this game, it's like, well, I got the best stuff already. Why should I keep playing this? I felt the same way about that Guardian Tales game, that in the first week of playing, I got the 2 best characters in the game. And it's like, okay, I get to blow through all this content, which means that there's no real progression anymore. And like you said, and like what people are saying in chat, that's what these games are designed around. Like, I'm going to bet you any amount of money that in the next week or two, there's going to be a new banner in Genshin Impact with some crazy new character who everybody's going to have to spend $1,000+ to get.
Yeah,
And then,
the real one is when they do the time limited banners and everything, and
they already did that.
yeah, because it's like these are all the pleb characters. You guys can fight over these, and then after that, here's the time limited banners kind of thing, and just time limited in general's pretty much a bad thing,
Yeah, like a lot of the mobile games do like time limited collaboration, and this was the topic I suggested to future show with Shark. But like we see a lot of developers going for collaborations, much like YouTubers, and every one of these collaborations is time limited. And again, that's like the perfect storm of monetization. You have a super rare character tied to a franchise that you may love, who's only available for, let's say, like a week, 2 weeks. So I hope you got your money saved.
Yeah. And Pony, yeah, I mean, I had that viewpoint too, but after diving in, I've learned many things more solidly, I guess you would say. It's a different thing from seeing, like a drug addict going through, all of his phases kind of thing, and knowing about it versus actually experiencing it firsthand, and you get this other knowledge of where this is good kind of thing. And
it's like what we say when I say that we have to play classic games instead of just watching footage. You really can't see the whole picture until you're the one actually doing it.
Until you go down that rabbit hole yourself.
And I'm trying to think we kind of went on to our first topic. We had a mini topic before we even got to the news. But very quickly, in terms of anything else going on right now, and then we'll do weird games and get to our main topic, because Genshin Impact also falls in there. Let's see. Amazon canceled its free-to-play shooter Crucible, which I completely tuned that game out.
I didn't know that was a game.
Yeah, there you go. Well, it never will be. Apparently someone made a blog post about in-app purchases and mobile free-to-play, and it's not from Ramin. So I wonder if he got summoned to that article on Gamasutra.
Probably.
I'll need to read that after this chat. Let's see. This is interesting. Should game devs become YouTubers to get more successful? I mean, did we do... I'm pretty sure we did something about like the whole YouTuber economy with how it comes to game dev these days, right?
I think we hit on it, but I don't think we ever did a full topic on it.
That could be something for a future show as well.
Yeah.
Let's see. Game stream will be later tonight, Pony. I'm not going right from this into a game stream. I'm not that masochistic.
You might be, but that's another point.
Even with, say, Ghosts and Goblins is a nightmare to play.
Yeah, your game stream is what, going to be like 4 hours from now, something like that?
I think that does it for like the major news, at least stuff that I'm seeing on Gamasutra. So let's do our weird game segment, and then we'll get to, I guess, our second topic, because we kind of got stuck on one.
Yeah.
Alright, now to switch things over and hope YouTube or OBS does not break. Let's see.
Yeah, I need to get I need to open up those links now that I think about it.
Yeah. Alright, there you go. Ta-da! Why does this keep breaking?
I hope that's working properly. It is not.
Yeah. There's gotta be an easier way to do... I just thought of how I could do this easier. 1 second.
Okay, I got mine fixed for this.
I wish there was just an easier way to set up this picture here.
Yeah.
Alright. I'm just gonna do a quick and dirty here. Let's see this.
Did it just start happening, like, because of an update or something?
I think so, and I think with the fact that this is being pulled through Discord, not through OBS. Or not through, like, the OBS for my side. Let's see.
No, it's been pulled through your browser. Remember?
This is not working.
I
Yeah,
just,
but it doesn't get updated easily. Did I just break something else?
yeah, I just went into my Chrome thing and I just changed the window that it was set to.
Hmm. Well, it's not so much that. I'm talking about my webcam. That's what's not working right now when I switch.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the issue there.
Oh, I thought you were having issues with your window.
Yeah, that was just me having to switch it over and then 1, 2, 3. Alright. Alright, there we go. Okay. So, our first game definitely gets it for the title. This is Craftlands Workshop, the funny indie capitalist RPG trading adventure game. They should have thrown in, I think, visual novel, shooter, hero collector in there, too.
Absolutely. They need more names in there. I mean, they're trying to get, top optimization in the storefronts through the title of their game.
Looks like very simplistic, like 3D aesthetic.
Yeah, it's very low poly.
Yeah. Master your crafts. Oh, good, you get to pet a dog. They're hitting every meme possible.
I mean, when you want to pet a dog?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm allergic, so I can't.
Well, it sounds like you need to get good at petting dogs then.
Wait, this was lead developed by the guy who did Shopkeep 1 and Shopkeep 2. Okay.
Do we know about either of those generic titled games?
No?
Yeah,
I
didn't think so.
I think this is a single player, and though it says join 350,000 other players, and he's just saying by the people who played the previous games.
Yeah, and I really don't believe that. Looking at this one.
Alright, this next one I chose for this lovely, the first screenshot. Oh, it's better. This is the first screenshot. This is Cat President 2 Perlectical Revolution. I mean, wouldn't you want to play a game with screenshots like this?
Oh, I mean, like, I have to request a queue right now.
Mm-hmm. All the memes.
See, and there I went. I requested the key. For anybody on my stream, they got to see it.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody sees this.
Oh my.
I like the third one. That's inspiring, or that's just stupid.
Yeah, there we go. And this is the sequel. This is not the first game. Candidates, thank you. You could have designed this game, Pony. You should join the developer.
Yeah, there you go.
And look, it has over 100,000 words. Mm-mm.
Well, that's a lot of words. That must mean it's good, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got Mr. Biscuits here, and Earl Grey, and F.E. Line, and Poopsie the Ninth. Banders.
My.
I mean, how can you miss those?
I'm sure this game took 5 years to develop.
Nah, this clearly had to take 10.
Mm-hmm.
I'm dying, F.E. Line, or I'm perfectly healthy.
Well, Shark, I'll let you take the bull on this one. You can stream this one. You can become YouTuber famous.
You know, I don't want to become famous for playing this game. You know what I want to become famous for? I want to become famous for topping this game. They're doing a shark version of this game. Because the shark version is going to be way, way better. Cats are inferior to sharks.
Well, speaking about cats, we have the other part of the equation, mice. And this is Quintus and the Absent Truth. And this is one that I don't quite know what they're going for, which is kind of why I picked it. We have a bunch of... Wait a minute.
We have a bunch of... Wait a minute?
Just copy these two screenshots, just one with the lights on, one with the lights off.
Well, that's what they have to offer.
There we go. That's like when you... when the report asks you, like, make your report 10 pages and you just copy, like, one page and say, this is really, really... that kind of thing.
Yeah. And that sounds like something I did back in 6th grade. Just put a page of nothing but reallys, and then just copy that for like 9 times, and then write the rest of the report on the other page.
Mm-hmm. There are a lot of questions that come up with this discussion. When darkness takes over your life, only one mouse can light the way. Apparently, his best friend is a super intelligent mouse. Nobody has any questions about that?
I mean, this sounds like, what is it, Ratatouille?
Mm-hmm. And what is the absent truth?
Which
got discovered.
I seen a thing on Ratatouille where it points out that the rat was actually the villain.
Bum, bum, bum. And this is just part 1. There's more parts coming.
Oh, snap. Wait, this is chapter 1, which means that this is like like a Walking Dead kind of thing.
Oh, good.
You know, the over-monetized, model. Where they charge you, about, $2,000 for one actual complete game that you've got to buy in, like 20-minute chunks for like $60.
Alright, so this next one looks promising. This is Partisans 1941, which the name sounds very familiar. And I did put a key request for this one. This looks kind of like another take-off Commandos or Shadow Tactics to me. Unfortunately, it's very hard to tell by these screenshots just what exactly you're going to be doing, besides just, walking around with a farm.
It looks like it could be interesting, but I don't think there's any way to know without actually playing it.
Yeah. It's published by Daedalic Entertainment. They're usually good, at least along these lines. So,
yeah,
we'll see. And then the final game, this one I put in a key for, this is Space Crew. And the reason why I'm excited about this one is that this is the sequel to Bomber Crew, which came out a few years ago.
Huh. I got Bomber Crew, and I played it a good bit for the first, a couple hours, and then after that, I never touched it again.
Yeah. It's a game where the progression really does kind of, start to wear itself thin. It has, again, like that kind of mobile design to it.
Yeah. But without the mobile addictions.
Yeah.
I mean, it's I felt like it was a fun game for the first, couple hours, and then after that, wasn't fun anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm hoping that they took kind of lessons learned from Bomber Crew and they apply it to this one. It looks alright from the screenshots, but again, this is one of those games that you don't really know unless you get it in your hands. Yep.
Yeah. Because watching videos of Bomber Crew and actually playing it are one of those games that are very, very different.
Mm-hmm.
Because I watched, 100+ hours of content of people playing Bomber Crew. Never got sick of it. But playing-wise, about an hour, a couple hours, and I was done. Kind of thing.
Yep.
So, like, it was a game definitely easier to watch than it was to, or I could watch longer than I could play.
Yep, definitely. So I think with that, let's get to our main topic, because we kind of started a little bit late, and I think we kind of began our first topic, or we began the topic a few minutes ago. So let me switch back over here. At least that didn't break. Oh, hey, Mojo. So, for our main topic, let's talk a little bit about the idea of avoiding clone design. And again, for those of you who kind of fast forward to this part during the recorded section, the game that brought this up was, of course, Genshin Impact. And the game is being treated by a lot of people as, Breath of the Wild-like. And some people really like it because of that. And some people are, trying to pick as many holes or, pick as many issues out of the game as they can because of that statement. And one of the big things about kind of mobile design in particular has been, trying to fight that sense of just making a clone of another game. Because there are plenty of clones on mobile, right?
Yeah, and they're coming to arrest them because they're clones.
Yeah.
But there's tons of clones on mobile. I mean, it's more of a question. Is there anything that's not a clone on mobile?
Maybe something like Monument Valley, or the games from the 88 Days developer,
or Clash of Clans.
Yeah,
but not Clash of anything else.
And in the first part of this cast, we were talking about hero collectors, and the hero collector genre really sticks to a very specific gameplay loop. It's usually like a turn-based RPG. Some of them allow you to control the party, some of them don't. And they all feature very similar rarity systems.
Yeah, don't you mean JRPG?
What about GRPG?
HRPG.
That make it as demodded.
There we go.
Mm-hmm.
The H was for hero.
Oh, okay.
Not the other H.
Well, I know this chat, so I know where their minds are going when we say H there. And
there we go. The Josh role playing the game.
Okay, perfect. And we even see this among independent developers when it comes to, copying or being inspired by many popular indie games. As we've said, when one developer makes a popular, successful indie game, there's going to be at least 5 to 10 other games at minimum that are going to try and take some of that success, whether it's a super challenging platformer, a emotionally driven walking simulator, the jump scare horror of Five Nights at Freddy's, and we would keep going on.
What are you talking about? Nobody's made any game inspired, based, trying to clone, Cyberpunk 2077. There is no clones out there. None of them from China or anything. There's none of those out there. All over the internet, everywhere, somewhere on there.
Yeah, but no one tried to copy Five Nights at Freddy's. No,
nobody copied that either. Nobody copied Stardew Valley either.
Or FTL.
No, nobody copied that either.
Mm-hmm.
Just copying's not an issue, Topic's over. Thanks for watching.
And
roll the credits.
We finished this early tonight. And it's important to understand, as a developer, what aspects you can take from a game or be inspired by, and when it goes too far. Because there are developers out there that are they're inspired by a popular game. They play something like Hades or Spelunky or Slay the Spire or anything like that, and they want to try and make their own. Yeah, Night Trap.
Yeah,
and there's a 90s song.
Yeah, there's a big difference though between cloning a game / copying a game and being inspired by a game. Because, like, if we're counting inspired by a game, then that would mean there's only one game per genre, and there's like 5 real games or 8 or however many genres there are, kind of thing. And we're not talking about being inspired. We're talking about copied versus inspired. So we've talked about the copy part, kind of thing. The copy is, basically trying to imitate it to a, really high degree. Inspired by would be when you're doing something new, but you're using similar stuff and you similar mechanics, similar stuff. Like like our last game, the word of the day, Chromasia, was inspired by Disgaea. They have a lot of very similar systems and everything, but even though they have so many things in common, they are almost night and day, completely different games.
Yeah. And there are people who go the other end. They go safely extreme here. They go to the other side when they say they pick apart a game saying, oh, this is just like this game. This is just like this game, so it must be a horrible game. We saw this with something like Darksiders, and yet Freedom Planet being another one as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are people who ripped Darksiders apart saying, oh, they stole the portal mechanic from Portal. Oh, they stole the open world from Legend of Zelda. They stole the combat for Devil May Cry, so it must be a horrible game. But, like we said, the DNA of video games, or at least a lot of games today, is built off of other games. If you've played one game, you're going to be inspired to make a game similar, be inspired by those mechanics.
Yeah, as for Freedom Planet actually started as a Sonic fan game, so it technically was a Sonic game at first. And then to avoid copyright, they changed, the art and the characters and whatnot, the dialogue and stuff like that. And I don't know if they changed moves or anything, but I mean that's definitely towards the copy side. It's not on the copy side, but it's right there on that line, and it's definitely leaning hard on the copy side of that line.
Oh yeah, like when we played that, like every few seconds I was pointing out, oh, that's just like in Sonic, or that was in Sonic.
Mm-hmm.
Just change very slightly.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can be enough to kind of avoid these issues. But the problem, and what we see from a lot of first-time developers, and we've said this before, is that when the goal is to copy another game, and that's it. Like, they don't go beyond that. And you'll see lots of first-time developers starting out who say, I just want to make a game like Super Meat Boy. Or, I just want to do a brutally difficult collectible card game, or a deck builder roguelike like Slay the Spire. But, like we said, that is part of the process. That's not the end point.
Yeah, I mean, like when we were working on our last game, what happened is I wanted to make a tactical RPG inspired by Disgaea, and I had already designed one that was very, very different. It was Project Toaster, and it ended up being too big a scope. We had to stop that, but it's like, well, I don't want to stop working on this game. What can we do? Well, we had our original game theme, game jam that we started off on around rock, paper, and scissors, because we would never make a game around that, and let's just make a game around that. Since, Project Toaster has died, kind of thing, to a point. So we went off with that, and we were just, when we first started out, when we, first swapped to that, our goal was making just a generic tactical RPG. And then as we got to that point, we started realizing themes and everything, kind of realized, hey, this is kind of seeming kind of like a comic book kind of thing. So let's kind of, put a little bit of love towards that, this is seeming, like it wants this kind of system kind of thing. Let's build that, and you know, it was very, very different than anything else. But like it was, inspired by many different games, and I think that's the key, from good inspired games is they're not just inspired by one game but multiple games. Like the current one I'm working on, the core inspiration was Triple Triad, which is a mini game in Final Fantasy VIII, which is a fun mini game. But you put that as a full game, and it wouldn't be very fun at all. You expand this grid to be larger, and it wouldn't be fun at all because like the main thing about that was the limits that you had of that small grid, and that small grid would never translate 1-to-1 as a full game kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So we did all these adaptations to it to make it fit that full game kind of format, and in that we created new mechanics. We took we took almost as much inspiration from Magic the Gathering as we did from Triple Triad kind of thing. I would say we probably took like 40% inspiration from Triple Triad, and probably about 35 from Magic the Gathering, and the other whatever percent came from a bunch of random games and just unique stuff that I came up with.
Yeah, and again, that is that point that we talk about with a lot of games where the inspired by and the clone, kind of we see that distinction. That nobody is saying you can't have a mechanic or a system from another game. What we're saying is that if all you're doing is copying that design wholesale and doing nothing else with it, that's when we run into this issue. Mm-hmm. But for games like Neon Continuum, again, even stuff like Slay the Spire, Binding of Isaac, Spelunky, or probably, I would say more along the lines of Dead Cells in that regard, like, you can trace those elements. And we try to do that all the time when we play these games on stream to see what elements we can pick out. But they're always done in a way that's different. And again, when we say different, we don't mean, completely break this down and tear it up. Sometimes because it could just be as simple as a tweaking of the system. We're changing a little bit of how it works.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that every mechanic has changed either. Some mechanics can be, copy and paste. Because, if you're playing a CCG, drawing cards, having a hand, redrawing, discarding, all that stuff, if you don't have that, you're probably not a CCG, mm-hmm. and so all those things pretty much go one for one, kind of thing. But we're not saying that you have to change every mechanic. We're, you probably need to change more than one mechanic, though. It needs to feel like a different game. It doesn't need to feel like the exact same game. And the great thing about this is you shouldn't be trying to make the same game again. What you should be doing is I really like that game, but I have an idea of how that game could be worlds better by changing this, and this. And then we, modify it into this, and this, and then we take that and we build that into this, and this kind of thing. And then you do that, a couple times, and you have a completely different game that probably doesn't even feel like the game that you based it off of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you have to be able to make those distinctions about how is this going to be different. If you, again, we talk about Monster Train. Monster Train and Slay the Spire are very similar games. Again, one of the designers of Slay the Spire helped them with Monster Train. Mm-hmm. So you can see the DNA of those two games very clearly. But you can't just say that Monster Train is just a ripoff of Slay the Spire. The mechanics are different, how the progression is handled differently. And like Shark said, you can see, if you understand design, you can see those little details about what Monster Train does differently from Slay the Spire. Mm-hmm. And it's not, and I think this is another point. This is not a case of developers saying, I want to beat Slay the Spire. I want my game to be the new Slay the Spire. It is, I really like Slay the Spire, but I would like to do X differently. And that is that major distinction.
Yeah, and when you, like, I mean, just comparing my personal feelings about the two games, I mean, like, I liked Slay the Spire. I didn't play very much of it because, like, it didn't really hook me all that much. But, like, you know, like, I think I did, like, 2-3 playthroughs of it, and I never beat it, kind of thing. And, like, I had my gripes with it. But then when we went to Monster Train kind of thing, like, I was absolutely nuts with it. And before the game even came out, I had played, I don't know, 200 runs of the thing, you know. And, you know, and I was, you know, that was one of the games I was spreading by word of mouth and be like, hey, Josh, you need to get this dang game. Josh, you need to get this dang game. And I'm sitting here, like, you know, grabbing him by the neck, shaking him, you know, by the collar of the neck, and just like, Josh, get the game. And he's just sitting there. And I had to do that for what, a month before you finally got it? And then once you got it, you didn't stop playing it for a while.
And there are people I know who prefer Slay the Spire over Monster Train. And that is actually really good because it highlights those differences in the design. You can't. Anyone who says that Monster Train is just a blatant ripoff of Slay the Spire doesn't know what they're talking about. And to Matthew's question, what I would ask you is, what is different about your game compared to Mario? Because that's where this distinction comes in. Everybody can make a platformer. I mean, we've seen everybody making platforms in the indie space over the last 10 years. But what separates your game from somebody else's?
And it can't just be difficulty.
Exactly. What mechanics are you using? What kind of movement tech? I mean, that web game is technically a platformer, but it plays nothing like any of the platformers that we've experienced before.
Oh yeah, that web game is a very good example of that because, like, it is a platformer like Mario, but, like, it is so night and day different from Mario. It's so night and day different from any platformer I've ever seen before. Like, it is because you have the whole webs. You spray a web out, you connect to something, you know, you spray, you know, you connect that web to another thing, you now create a trap kind of thing. You can then, you know, spray web down to another thing and connect a, you know, web to that other web, and then it pulls it through physics kind of thing.
Yeah, like, if you remember from the stream, like, when I caught the fly in the web for that first time, like, I got, like, my face, like, sprung joy, because I didn't even think that could have happened. And yeah, like, that right there, like, when you see these elements that you never expected and it works, you know, it's like, you know, kid in a candy store.
I mean, that game is actually, you know, like, if you look at the inspirations, I can tell you what what likely were the inspirations. It was, you know, platformers and a Spider-Man game.
Yeah.
Because, like, in Spider-Man, you know, in some of the Spider-Man games, you know, like that Tomo made, you know, you were able to connect one, you know, building to another, you know, by you stick to one thing and then you stick that to the ground where you're at, and then you're able to tightrope across it, kind of thing. Or, you know, shimmy across it or slide across it, kind of thing. Like, there's many different ways to do it. And, you know, you see that exact mechanic in that, you know, game, but it's done very, very differently and adapted to the platformer kind of thing. And what's amazing was, like, when Josh was playing it, he was playing it all this time, and he had forgotten that you could even jump.
Yeah.
And he was playing a platformer, and jumping is basically how you define a platformer kind of thing. You jump from platform to platform, and he was not even jumping, and he was having tons and tons of fun because, like, it's not just jumping. It is something new, but the jumping is still there, and there's a whole bunch more that's still there, kind of thing. and so many other things, and just like, and it wasn't just that, because like all the mechanics tied into each other, kind of thing, and they all fit together, kind of thing. No, Tomo actually made Spider-Man 1 and 2, the movie games.
Yeah, the original two, like, kind of open world style games.
He was, one of the lead people behind the swinging mechanics in Spider-Man.
Yeah, and I actually know the other guy, Jamie Freestrom. He went on to do a game very similar, but unfortunately didn't catch on as well.
Yeah. And yeah, Spider-Man was good, both 1 and 2. Oh, and, yes. I fanboyed out a bit when I first met Tomo.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And when we look at these games that do things differently, like, let's bring back Genshin Impact into this for a second. Like we said, Genshin Impact is heavily inspired by Breath of the Wild, specifically in the movement tech and the whole glider mechanic. But, like, in this case, like, the bad actually kind of helps the game, because the mobile elements and mobile progression separated from Breath of the Wild. Like, for instance, there's no weapon durability. Because, again, imagine a mobile game where you buy a 5-star weapon that breaks.
Yeah. I mean, that would be bad.
Mm-hmm. And, like we've said, there is nothing wrong with borrowing mechanics. And like we said, like, from a license or an IP standpoint, you cannot trademark or copyright pure mechanics or pure gameplay systems. It is the elements surrounding them, the aesthetics, the art. This is why the ARPG genre, everybody uses, red for health, blue for mana, magic, MP, SP, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm. And, it's become a design language, and, mm-hmm. Now you don't even want to deviate from that. Not unless you have a really, really good reason for that, because if you do deviate from that without a really good reason, players are not going to like you.
Make blue for health, and, red means you're being poisoned, while green is good. Just, like, completely throw all the color symbology there.
Yeah, not only that, but I mean, red is actually tied to emotions, kind of thing, and like, you can Google the emotions of colors, kind of thing, and you'll find that that there are some pretty shocking things. Like, I'm forgetting what they are off the top of my head. Go on, I'll see if I can find it real quick.
So Pony's Con there, that is very odd. Like, I would love to look up the court case for that, about just saying that you start with 20 health is trademarked. That sounds very suspect to me. I know, I just had this in my head and I forgot. There was, I remember now. There was a case where, I think it was Tecmo. Was Tecmo one of those other companies trademarked loading screen minigame? Mm-hmm. Which is just such a weird thing right there.
Which that expired.
Yes. I think it expired, like 3-4 years ago? Maybe a little more than that?
Yeah. And, that's part of, I didn't want to do a minigame in Project Triad for, when, you were doing it in the loading screen. So what I did was I did my own thing to where we're doing cutscenes in there, because, like, I wanted to get more story into the game. So we're doing cutscenes during the loading scene, basically inspired by that very same copyright. So that old copyright inspired me for my own new system.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole thing about Runeterra, that is such a very, or Hex, like, that's such a very interesting case there. Because normally, again, like, pure or raw mechanics cannot be locked to a game's aesthetic or brand. It's kind of like I use like the Mario example, that if I want to include a power up that lets me shoot fireballs out, and I make it a cactus that I pick up, that is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
If I make it that I shoot out a fireball that comes from a firefly that looks exactly like the Mario one, using the exact same sound effect. That's a different story.
Yeah. So I found the thing on colors. And this is not an end-all be-all kind of thing, but this is just an example, so take it at that. So, blue is represented with trust, smart, calm, faith, natural, stable, power, where, red is love, immediacy, energy, sale, passion, hunger, anger. Black is bold, rich, power, mystery, elegance, evil, strength. Green is soothing, ego-friendly, natural, envy, jealous, balanced, restful. Yellow is cheer, attention, childish, fresh, warmth, energy, optimist. Orange is health, attraction, stand out, thirst, wealth, youthfulness, happiness. Pink is tenderness, sensitive, caring, emotion, sympathetic, love, sexuality, and demods.
There we go.
Purple.
So we should just change all the color on this to pink, then, right?
Yes. Purple is royal, mysterious, arrogant, luxury, childish, creative, sadness kind of thing. Like colors mean things. Like they are represented with things. That's how a lot of marketing teams actually come up with logos and all this other stuff and banners and everything. They do this in a way that invokes these emotions through using the colors that they want to invoke that emotion into you. And I meant reds with energy, which health is your energy in a game kind of thing, because if you're out of energy, you're dead.
Yeah, and to what Pony is talking about, it's sounding very similar to the case when Paul and Fred were suing Stardock, where I think Star was suing them over the use of Star Control. And this is where it gets very weird. Because, like we said, mechanics by themselves, individually, a mechanic cannot be trademarked. But if you use multiple qualifiers from another game in your game, that's when things start to get muddied. And Paul and Fred brought this up with the use of Stardock's use of the Star Control elements. That having the specific hyperspace theme, it's a red background, red and black background with star shooting, having how the viewpoints were being used. Individually, there's no problem there. But when you start grabbing all these little different aspects and it starts to build into you, again, looking like somebody else's game, even if you have a different art or a different overall aesthetic, it becomes a real big case of he said, she said in the courts.
Well, I believe the main thing that got that court case was that basically the judge bases it off of being significantly similar. Basically trying to confuse customers into thinking that you're the other thing, because there's some Coke logos out there, some fake Coke logos that are Choke or Coke kind of thing, and they have the same font, they use the same colors and everything, and they are there to purposely try to trick you into thinking you're that other product when you're not, kind of thing. And when you're similar enough that it's the average consumer, and mind you, the average consumer's not too smart, sadly, but the average consumer would confuse it, kind of thing, then that's the point where the courts can act, kind of thing. And so you want, my game, has a ton of inspirations from Project Triad, kind of thing, and it's got a ton from Magic the Gathering, but nobody can look at my game and be like, yeah, this is, this is, trying to confuse the Magic the Gathering people into thinking this is their game in this, or the Project Triple Triad kind of thing. nobody can make that, well, I mean, somebody can make that accusation because anybody can say anything they want, but, like, nobody can legitimately make that argument.
Yeah, and it's the same thing we see for mobile when you have developers who will use the same icon or the same aesthetic for their game that looks suspiciously like the one from Clash of Clans.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've seen, like, dozens of them all using the same, barbarian-looking guy yelling as their thumbnail. And
are you referring to Clash of Tans?
Yeah.
Or Clash of Mans?
Yeah.
Clash
or
of Pans?
Hero of Clans, Clans of War, War of Heroes, Hero Clash, Clash Heroes.
Hero of Pans.
There we go. Perfect. And like Shark said, if your game is so similar that it can be confused, that is not good. And
that's legal issues right there.
Yeah. If you remember, there was that Cuphead game that looked very suspiciously like Cuphead. It was built on like a what was it? Fairy Tales. And when I did a side-by-side comparison, and the developer had original elements to that game. There were boss fights that were not featured in Cuphead. But the problem, again, is that the game uses so many different tells and so many different aspects of Cuphead's design that the original stuff that they did is being, downplayed or pushed down by the Cuphead elements.
Because there was just so much similar. So it was basically the same as that game with a mod, kind of thing. Like rather than its own thing.
And I think that's a really good point right there that you said, Shark, that if your game looks like it could just be a mod for somebody else's game or a reskin, then you didn't go far enough. Going back to the Freedom Planet example from earlier, that you could have, I'm sure there's a version of Freedom Planet out there that you could just put side by side with Sonic, and you couldn't tell the two from one another.
Mm-hmm.
But what they did, again, partly by necessity there, was change things up so that, yes, you can still have those. There are definitely Sonic the Hedgehog elements in Freedom Planet. But you can't just put them both side by side and say, okay, this game's just ripping off this one immediately.
Yeah. But you can definitely draw that conclusion.
Yeah.
But, like, you can't say it 100% because, like, they have changed enough that they could probably get away with it in the court of law. Mm-hmm. Unless the Sonic team had a really good team of lawyers and went after them, kind of thing, mm-hmm. they would probably win. But
and in a way, this is why Nintendo goes after a lot of their, the fan-made games that use their characters. Because Nintendo's brand, in a lot of cases, isn't aesthetics. We've all seen Mario. We've all seen Samus and Pokemon and Pikmin and Smash and whatever other games you want to say. So if you use those assets or that aesthetic in your game, that specific one, I should say, mm-hmm. then it's very easy to confuse your title with a Nintendo title. And Nintendo does not want that at all.
Yeah. And then that gets back to that game we had a little bit ago where they, where it was basically a completely different game, but they used the art from Mario, that Mario multiplayer one.
What was it, the Mario 35?
Yeah. Well, that was the Nintendo version of that. Mm-hmm. But, like, that was a very, very different game kind of thing. And if they had changed the aesthetics and, whatnot, and, maybe a couple of mechanics with that kind of thing, they would have been, free and clear kind of thing. But Nintendo shut them down and had every legal right to do it. It was they didn't have the moral right to do it, I would say, but they had every legal right to do it because, like, I think they were morally, wrong in that. But Nintendo doesn't care kind of thing, and
Yeah.
they like burning their own fan base. So,
Mm-hmm.
and but like they very easily could have done and should have done what Sega did with what was it the
Sonic Mania.
Sonic Mania, because Sonic Mania was arguably the same game as Sonic, just better kind of thing, the original Sonics kind of thing. And, they just, said, okay, finish your game, but we're publishing it under our label. We're taking a, vast majority of the profits kind of thing. We're taking, and you're flipping all the cost. We may help you with a couple things here and there kind of thing, but that's it kind of thing.
Yeah.
And basically, they both benefited from that, and, while the developers got absolutely screwed in that, but they also got absolutely helped by that, because the fact is they got screwed by that because like they made nothing compared to what Sega made in that deal, but they vastly profited on that because they weren't going to sell the game in the first place. And 1% of a few $1,000,000 is a lot higher than 0% of or 100% of nothing.
And a lawsuit.
Yeah, and a lawsuit, and losing your game and never getting it out there, when what they really wanted was to get it out there. That's what they wanted, and they got that. They got it out there, and they got some money, kind of thing. So they got everything they wanted, and then some, kind of thing. And Sega just made money hand over fist, kind of thing. And Nintendo could have done the same thing. Nintendo could have, done the exact same thing. And, the developers could have avoided what Nintendo did by changing the aesthetics and a couple of mechanics, adding a few new mechanics, a few, kind of thing. And but we went down the darkest path there to where they got shut down. Nintendo cloned them and then profited off of it.
Yep. And again, this is why we say that you cannot just stop at somebody else's game. This was the issue we saw with stuff like another Metroid and that Pokemon Uranium. Like, they were good games. They were legitimately great titles. But their goal was to just basically say, here's a Pokemon game on the PC that looks like a game from Nintendo. Or here's a Samus game or a Metroid game that's on the PC that's not by Nintendo.
Yeah, I mean, like, on the Uranium one, they could have probably just changed the name for not Pokemon, and they would have probably been fine.
Yeah, that Tam Tam game, whatever it was called, it was like the, Chinese knockoff of Pokemon that came out last year.
Mm-hmm. And it was mainly the trademark from the Pokemon name that got Pokemon Uranium kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to be mean, but you're just, flying close to the sun if you name your game Pokemon, or a Pokemon in the title.
Yeah. Like, okay, so things to avoid. Never steal anything. Don't steal anybody's artwork. Don't steal trademark names. Don't steal any trademark mechanics, which there basically is none. There might be technically one or two out there because, people abuse the system, but, generally mechanics are not copyrightable. But don't steal, like, people's entire games. Take them as, I want to, make a game like this, but better or different kind of thing. And then start with that game and start changing better and different, and make it into your own game. You don't want to make somebody else's game. Your job as a developer is not to make somebody else's game, but to make your games. Unless you're a freelancer. That's the only time you should ever make somebody else's games, because they're paying you to make their games.
Yeah.
You make them whatever they say to make, kind of thing. But if you're not freelancing for somebody, then make your own game.
Yep.
If you're not if you're not employed by a AAA or somebody else, if you're not on somebody else's team, and you're making their game, make your own game.
Yep. And you have to, again, be very careful about using, just store-bought assets or assets that you find online. Because if you don't make any changes to them, one, it can make your game look like a cheap knockoff. Because, I mean, how many games have we played or seen that just use ripped assets?
Yeah. And that's not legal either, because ones that are for sale or public domain are, but just ripping assets, that's very, very illegal, and you will, if your game succeeds, you will fail, kind of thing, because people will find out, and there will be lawsuits, and you will be in very, very big trouble, kind of thing. So, basically what I'm saying is if you're going to steal somebody's stuff, make sure it fails. Make sure your game fails really, really hard before it, goes anywhere. So, don't steal other people's stuff, And if you're getting assets and everything, change them, because here's the thing. There's two reasons. Is number one, if you're not changing them, then probably a bunch of other games have that same asset, and you're going to look generic because of that, and look like like you don't care about your game. Number two is if you don't change them, you've got to match everything. You've got to have a matching, cohesive style between all of your game. Mismatched things are only going to cause your game to die. Yep. So you have to you have to either commit and have like a bunch of new art made to this exact style that this one person made in this asset pack, assuming that you only have one asset pack, kind of thing. You probably have multiple. But you pick one and you stick to it, and you modify all the others to fit that. And if you're not an artist, then you really can't do that. Which is the reason why, I feel like there's no reason to ever buy any asset packs. Because, you have to change the assets, kind of thing. So, and you have to pay an artist to change them, and you have to pay an artist to make other assets, kind of thing, to fit all that stuff together. Why not just hire an artist to do all of it to begin with? You know,
pretty much.
And now then, for placeholders, kind of thing. It's fine. Run whatever you want. Run Batman. I mean, we've done that before. It doesn't matter.
One developer just did put cat photos up as placeholder art.
Yeah. I mean, definitely do not sell that, and definitely do not. You don't want to sell. There's other reasons you don't want to sell a game that has placeholders than just the cosmetics. The fact that it's too incomplete to show, kind of thing.
And here's a bonus pro tip for the developers watching: do not have any placeholder art in your game and declare 1.0. Just don't do that.
Oh, if you do that, you're in so many problems, because you're in you're in legal problems at that point, because you're selling it at that point.
Yep. I do want to go to something that Rat's Tail brought up about being inspired by another game and seeing about making improvements, because this is where and let me see, time-wise, I think we'll probably wrap things up maybe the next 10 or so minutes, give or take. But one thing that is very important to point out in terms of the whole clone and being inspired by is Blizzard's MO when they do their games. Because Blizzard is always considered one of the best examples of this. That they can take a look at another game, another property, and basically figure out enough things to do differently or better to then kind of in a weird way spin to their own original design.
And to answer Ryu's question, there's tons of them on Steam. There's thousands upon thousands of them on Steam. They won't be easy to find. I have no idea what their names are, because they're very forgettable, kind of thing. But there are thousands upon thousands like that on Steam. Trust me, I have seen a lot of them in my days. I'm sure Josh has seen a lot of them too.
Yeah. And like we've said, you have to, hey Cosmic, you have to be really careful in terms of how you look and approach these games. And this is one of the reasons why Blizzard has worked so well. Because World of Warcraft was not an original game. It was heavily inspired by EverQuest. But Blizzard said to themselves, okay, this is what EverQuest did. Let's do all this stuff differently.
Yeah, they took EverQuest and they refined it to the umpteenth level and made it their own kind of thing.
Yep.
And that's the big reason why World of Warcraft was so successful. I did not like World of Warcraft at all. You know, like I heard so much about it and everything, and like everybody piqued my interest to play it, kind of thing. And I didn't have a PC to play it on. I didn't have money for the game. Definitely didn't have money to play monthly, kind of thing. But then I went and I was in the card shop that I frequent all the time. With a break between waiting for people to play games with, kind of thing, either role playing or card games, kind of thing. And they had a computer room, and I went in there to because pretty much everybody that was there was pretty much in the computer room or up at the front desk buying comics, kind of thing. And I had already went through all the comics, so it was like, I'll go check out the computer room and see what's going on in there. And there was 2 people in there. They were both playing World of Warcraft. And I sat in there for 2 hours watching them play. And I swear, nothing happened except for they walked from point A to point B in slow motion, slow walking speed. I got to walk from this city to this city. And then I complete a quest. And then I get a new quest to walk from this city to this city. And then I complete a quest. And then I walk from this city to this city. And then I complete a quest. And that's all that happened in like no, it wasn't 4 hours. It was like, I think like 2.5 hours. It felt like 2.5 years of watching him walk from point A to point B. And he was skipping every single encounter. And I don't know if this was a normal quest for World of Warcraft or not, but this was all I seen. And after seeing those like 4 quests that took like 2.5 hours, that were just walking, hold the arrow key to go from place to place. After seeing that, it's like, yeah, not my game. And I am, I don't know what kind of insanity people are for wanting to play, hold the up arrow, or in this case, W key, forever from point A to point B. Like, I'm sure there was other quests in there, but I didn't see it, and first impressions are everything.
Yeah, and to a Cosmic's comment, that was more about modern retro design. This is more about being inspired by another game and deciding to avoiding, just cloning or just outright copying somebody else's game. And yeah, like World of Warcraft, I played for 6 months, and I was just like, why am I giving them $15 a month to play this game? Oh, good, we're going after both World of Warcraft and Nintendo in this video. That's perfect.
Yeah, we won't have any hate comments here.
No, definitely not. And yeah, again, like Blizzard at their peak, they were amazing at just basically copying somebody else's game, but doing like all the touch up and repaint work and turning it into something else.
Mm-hmm.
And like we said, like this is kind of like our main point for this discussion. A lot of times, you don't have to do a lot to avoid cloning or copying somebody's game. You can do very little. Sometimes just doing a better version of somebody else's game can be enough. But like we said, your ultimate goal is for somebody to look at your game and go, this is not like somebody else's game. This is a different game.
Yeah.
Or saying, this is like X, but you do Y differently.
Yeah, and keep in mind that if you're better, if you're going for the better route rather than the different route, your game needs to either be better or different. If you're going for the better route, you need to be better in every way. Don't
And
be
that
better in game mechanics and then have worse art. You gotta have your art needs to be worlds better than their art.
And you can't do better art and worse gameplay. Exactly, Pun. I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
That's what Blizzard does. They throw all the money. Yeah, exactly. They used to do that. They throw all the money of saying, we want to make a better version of this game. And in the past, they did it. And this is why the MMO market collapsed, because everyone else said, let's just copy Blizzard. Blizzard did it right, so surely we can do it too.
Yeah.
And that always works out, right, Shark?
Yeah, I mean, like, just 100% copying a game and just, doing it worse.
I mean, just
It's 100% success formula.
I mean, if you just copy Fortnite or Minecraft, you'll be billionaires.
Yeah. I mean, we have, 2 million billionaires right at this point because everybody that copied Minecraft. I mean, like, you hear about all these famous people who copied Minecraft and now they're billionaires, the top 1% now is now the top, 30% because they all made Minecraft clones. And, everybody who is up there, like Amazon and everything, they're not even in the top 10% anymore. They're at the the 80% mark. They're barely above, they're just barely outside of the bare minimum income kind of thing. They don't make anything anymore. All these Minecraft clones making all the money.
And I want to go to Factorio for a second, because I wanted to bring up the final upgrade game that Shark's been playing, that we played a little bit on stream. That when we did our streams of Factorio, we were talking about why we didn't see too many direct competitors to Factorio. And part of the reason is that the complexity and depth of Factorio is not something easily copied. Again, the game was in development for 10 or so years, I think, on through early access and pre-early access.
I think it might have been a little bit longer than that.
And one of the reasons why Final Upgrade looks so promising is that right now it does not have a better aesthetic than Factorio, and Factorio's aesthetic is okay, on a good day. But what it does is that the gameplay is different. And it is inspired by Factorio. You can see that with how kind of the production chains work and setting them up.
Yeah, you could easily call it a Factorio Light.
Exactly. But what that game does differently separates it from Factorio. So again, you can say it's like Factorio, but, and that but is the important point.
Yeah, and it's not just but it's in space. It's but these mechanics are different, and these mechanics are different, and these mechanics are different, kind of thing. And how this all works is different. Like in Factorio, you just set up a miner on a block, and then you mine it until it runs out, and it uses electricity. You put modules in it. In this one, you have to build a ship to go mine, set routes and everything to it, which I heard they're getting rid of the routes, by the way, and having those be automatic so you don't have to fool with it. Mm-hmm. And I think you're still able to change the priorities of the routes and everything, but you don't have to set the routes anymore. Yeah. But I don't know if that's in the current version or not. But they're streamlining that, and they're the thing is you have to wait on you're not just doing this production rate of just this number clicking by to put out stuff on a conveyor belt. You're actually sending a spaceship out. It's taking time for it to fill up, kind of thing, and then it's coming back. It's using fuel and everything. You have to worry about refueling it. You have to worry about all this other stuff, and you have to worry about all these aspects. And then when you process things, they process completely different, kind of thing. Where Factorio is very much I'll process this, I'll refine this into the core material, and then I'll process that into I'll take two of these core materials and I combine them, and then I'll take these two materials and I'll combine them, and take these two materials and combine them, kind of thing. And where this one is not, this one is more like you take one material and you process it through multiple steps and refine it through multiple steps. You know, first iron, raw iron to processed iron to iron ingots kind of thing. And then you take each one of those, and each one of those branches off into their own separate recipes. And, you know, that's kind of where the game kind of lacks at the moment, is there's not, you know, there's a lot of stuff to get, but there's not a lot of recipes kind of thing. Like, you have all these different materials and everything, but it's early access, so it's to be expected. And, yeah, Mindustry is very much like Factorio, too. But it's quite different at the same time, because, like, Factorio is more like a automation game with a side of tower defense, where Mindustry is more like tower defense with a side of automation kind of thing.
Yeah,
and it's like they inverse the priorities kind of thing.
Yeah, and like we've said, when you're trying to do something different, you can go small, you can go big, but you still have to do something. Mm-hmm. And that something is what's going to set your game apart, and in many cases, it can make or break your title. Looking at the rise of the deck-based or deck builder roguelike, for instance, the very first example, well, we kind of praised the first example, was Dream Quest, and that was, I think, 2014. And playing that game, it was more roguelike than deck builder. And then what happened was, as we saw more developers kind of embrace that design, they decided to go in the opposite direction. It became more deck builder, less roguelike.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, Slay the Spire is the one that popularized the genre kind of thing. Yeah. The one that everybody knows. The one that most people who don't know anything about game development says that's the first one that would ever existed.
Oh, yeah, or roguelikes didn't exist until 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm. They weren't on PC before, you know, before there was even a console out there.
When I read that piece on Gamma Sutra, I could feel like my heart stopping now. I started to get chest pain. And now I know what roguelike fans are like. And I now understand the roguelike community. And to Pony's point, again, that's also just the market. Again, 30 years ago, or I should say maybe like more like 35-ish, like, there was no platforming. There was no platforming either. And when you are the first to do something, you can do whatever the heck you want with it. You know, Mario growing 2 times his size and jumping on creatures, eating mushrooms? Why not? Who's going to tell him no, you can't do that?
Yeah. I mean, because it's really if you're making something new, then you're making something new, and that's just it, you know. And you know, there's nothing wrong with making a new genre kind of thing, but it's extremely risky kind of thing, and you better not just solely make something new. Make stuff make sense. And to make stuff make sense, you need to follow basically the color codes of other games. You need to follow, you know, control schemes. You need to follow UI elements and UX elements. You need to, you know, you need to conform to the design of a lot of other games. You know, despite yours not even being basically anything about like them kind of thing. And you need to, you know, follow these conventions and everything, and it's just, you know, there's just so much things that are, you know, that you have to deal with kind of thing, and things you need to follow, you know. So don't just make original for original's sake. Do you always need to push the art form? I mean, like, what do you consider pushing the art form? I mean, like, you definitely need to do it for fun, because if you're not doing game dev for fun, then you're doing it for masochism, because because game dev is like, you know, for the skill required and everything, game dev is the lowest paid field out there.
Yeah, and I
think
the
most risky.
to the point about kind of where to bend, when to innovate, when to hold. Again, like what we said, like UI UX design, onboard, and controls. That's not where you should be thinking outside the box of. Like I point that, or I say that's akin to saying I'm going to design my car, but I'm going to be a maverick. I'm going to put the steering wheel in the trunk, the pedals on the roof, and the windows on each tire. Like, there has to be a foundation, a stable foundation for your game to be built off of that you can then experiment and then do things differently. Like we've said before, you have to understand the rules before you can really know how to break them.
Yeah. And you don't want to make it where the volume slider is inside of the you like let's say you're playing a tactical RPG, right? You have like you're in combat, there's attack, defense, item, and the volume slider. You don't want that. You don't want that. You want the volume slider in the menu where it's easily found, and you want the graphical settings with it, and you want all those things together.
I think you missed this, or you may have saw on when you watch a recording show. We play a game called Glitchphobia or Glitchtopia, and the game literally does not have a way to exit out of it. There's no way to exit the game.
Yeah, you don't want to make it where you cannot exit the game unless you're making Sword Art Online and trying to kill everybody that plays your game. And through VR that takes over their brain kind of thing. Unless you're doing that kind of thing and want to go to jail for a very long time if you're ever caught, don't make your game not able to get out of.
Yeah. And I think to Foreign's point again about like Doom Eternal's like font system, that kind of like how it went like a little colorful arcade. I think that's an interesting point for maybe another topic about again iconography or symbology there.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think you can do colorful fonts, but you need to do them in such a way that they look good. They can't look cheesy kind of thing. They have to fit. Like, I'm working on a colorful font right now, and I've done, like right now it doesn't look good, and I've made about, I think, like 8-10 different versions of it now that I'm now going to go get opinions on and everything, and they we're working on refining it kind of thing. And the reason why it's colorful and everything is because it fits the theme, because the theme is neon. It's Neon Continuum, so like it makes sense there would be neon like colored text kind of thing. But it's a question of which how can we make that work and not be cheesy, not be unreadable kind of thing, or be hard to read. You need it to be easy to read. And how do we add style to the font to make it stand out, but not just not be readable? Because like there's tons of fonts out there that absolutely stand out. Like they look like Egyptian hieroglyphics, and nobody in the world can read them, but they stand out like everything. You don't want that. You have to stand out. And the thing I've learned about readability is when somebody reads a font kind of thing, like even if it's a more readable thing, it's the more generic it is, the more readable it is. You need to actually relate. People need to relate to the font for it not to be able to be hard for them to read. So hence you need a semi-generic looking font kind of thing. It needs to an F needs to look like an F, an E needs to look like an E. It can't like these old like the old manual scrolls where they put a really decorative G or whatever the first letter kind of thing, and then everything's in this really fancy cursive kind of thing. That's very hard to read for a person. Very, very hard to read, and that would be something you don't want to do. So you need a more generic, and by generic I mean generic to these days, not generic to back then in the 1700s or whatever, because we don't read like that anymore. We read like we do now. So you need plain text kind of thing, and you can still add style to that, and you need to add style to it that fits your game, but you need to add style to it in a way that it doesn't take away from the readability kind of thing.
Oh, and for the chat talking about the Doom speedrun, you should look up the speedrun for Dust, where they play the developers, and that was just hilarious to watch, with them talking about all the bugs and potential issues they kind of had in that game for that. Yeah. And you have, again, like, that's a topic that we don't have the time to get to, but I guess here's my final thought, and then I'll throw it over to you to end the stream on. That when you are trying to be, you can be inspired by a lot of games. Again, there's a reason why we say you need to play the games of the genre that you're interested in designing. I know that sounds like, fourth dimensional chess right there, but you need to understand what does and doesn't work about a genre. And in many cases, you're going to learn mechanic conventions and genre conventions that are going to make up the basis for it. Again, if you're making a deck building or any kind of deck building or CCG based game, you're going to have to learn about doing good card art and making symbols that look right, making the cards actually look like something that makes sense. Mm-hmm. That's not you stealing. Having a card in your game and Hearthstone having cards doesn't mean you're stealing from Hearthstone. But you need to be able to go beyond that. And we keep saying this, and we have to keep harping on this point, that you cannot just stop at somebody else's game. I think Shark put this right. You either need to be better, or you need to be different. And in 9 times out of 10 cases, you are not going to be able to be better. Again, like we said, there's a reason why most people aren't trying to steal from Factorio, because how would you do Factorio but better than the developers at this point? And do it in, like a 1 to 2 year dev cycle.
Yeah, I mean Satisfactory's attempting that, but they have not achieved it so far. I mean, the only real difference is it's in first person kind of thing. And, maybe eventually it'll be a different game, and maybe eventually it'll be as good as Factorio. But it's not there yet.
Yep. And
I mean, changing the perspective and putting shiny graphics on it doesn't make it that much better. Especially when you're missing probably about 90% of the mechanics kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And like we've said, if you're trying to, when we say different, we don't mean completely reinvent the wheel.
Mm-mm.
But you still have to be able to say to somebody, yes, my game is like this, but I do this differently. And the more that you do differently, the more it's going to help your game in the market. And like Shark said, and I've seen this as well, people are going to complain about everything. Oh, your game features a glider, so you're stealing Breath of the Wild. Oh, your game has a shotgun, so you're a Doom clone. Oh, your game has cars, so you're ripping off Hearthstone. And you're just going to have to ignore those people.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to happen no matter what game you build, And
I hope you're ready for that with Neon Continuum.
Yeah. Like, I have bigger issues that I got to deal with that, because, like, not only will people be saying I'm ripping off, Magic the Gathering and Triple Triad and a card game that I've never heard of kind of thing. Not only will they be saying that, but they'll there will be the monetization thing that, I'm making a brand new monetization model. One aim to be, consumer friendly and everything. And, people have already called it anti-consumer and bad because I'm not doing it's just cosmetics kind of thing, which we already talked about is like the worst, most manipulative way to monetize the game. It's like, yeah, I'm not going with the worst monetization. Yeah, you're right. I'm going with the better one. But they don't see it that way. They're blinded to the it's just cosmetics argument, and they're going to say my game's pay to win. They're going to say all kinds of nasty things. They're going to say that it's abusive, monetization model and whatnot. And then there will be other people that's like, what the hell are you talking about? This is the best monetization model that's ever existed. This is brand new. This is better. This isn't abusive kind of thing. And like, then there's going to be arguments in the comment section where they go back and forth. And like, hopefully there's enough people that, play the game that, that the people who realize the truth behind the game there's more of them there. There are idiots that think that it's just cosmetics is the best monetization model ever because they've been programmed to do that by EA, and all these other, manipulative companies. Because I mean that's the whole thing they've put out there. All these manipulative companies have put it out there. It's just cosmetics to manipulate people. That is a specific manipulation tactic that they have done to a lot of people, and a lot of people have bought into that hook, line, and sinker. And those people are going to be very critical of my game, and it's going to frankly hurt when they come after me. I already know what they're going to say, oh, yes. and it's not going to make it any less painful on me, but I'm going to know how to deal with it.
Yeah, everybody from now on, every stream just scream at Shark, your game is pay to win. Just, like, get them prepared for it. And to Cosmic's point, again, like, to what the chat is saying, that, like, even experimental design, because we've seen games that try to do something differently, but a lot of these games tend to handle very poorly, because they go so far out of the box, they forget that the basic controls, the skeletal structure of your game needs to be set. If you're telling me it's an experimental platformer and the jumping feels horrible, I'm not going to care about anything else that you did differently if you failed on the very basic aspect. Again, going back to the car example, I don't care if your car has the most unique and completely out there art style. If it's one wheel, one tire, there's 5 different steering wheels, and the whole thing just catches on fire the second you turn it on.
Now that said, maybe 5 different steering wheels might be a good thing, but you have to build it into a good thing. It's not going to be a good thing on its own. Maybe it's a good thing because it's this crazy multiplayer mechanic that it's so interesting that one person, does the steering, and then the other person controls the braking gas, and then the other person controls, the turn signals and everything, and it's a challenge to not get arrested kind of thing. That could be a fun gameplay loop if done right, but like just putting 5 different steering wheels in a car, or just putting, the gas pedals in there and doing nothing else, not doing the, the whole gameplay loop about trying not to get arrested, trying not to do, trying not to drive normally or anything like that. Like, if you don't put that kind of thing in there, then the whole other thing is pointless kind of thing. Like you can't do something for no reason. There has to be a reason behind it. You have to implement the mechanics in a way that they create a fun gameplay mechanic. And that could be, that idea I told you about could be developed into something really fun. It could also be thrown together in a few minutes and be absolutely crap. It all depends on how much you go into it and actually really develop that idea into a full game. And, we were talking about on another Discord today, I think it was today, it was either today or last night, I can't remember, the two were blended together. But, like, we were talking about, how ideas are worthless and, everything. And, I disagree. Ideas are not worthless, but ideas are not worth any kind of monetary value. Yeah. I will not pay you 1 red cent for an idea. But if you have a good idea that you're suggesting for the game I'm working on, and it works out in a way that, and I'm like, oh, I can tie this mechanic and this mechanic to it, I can do this, this, and this, and tie it, spiderweb it all in there, and it will fit just amazingly kind of thing and improve the game so much. That is very valuable to me. But it's not worth it's not worth a cent, but it's valuable. It's valuable in the priceless sense, not the priceless as in this is more than you can afford, but valuable as in it's a priceless idea, but I'm not going to pay a cent for it, kind of thing.
The Simpsons, priceless as a mother's love, or the good kind priceless.
Yeah.
And something that I say is that there's a difference between somebody not liking a genre and not liking your specific version of the genre. Mm-hmm. And again, that leads us into the echo chamber effect and a lot of other topics that unfortunately we do not have the time to get to tonight.
And certainly people, if my current game or any of my games succeed kind of thing, like there will be fanboys that will argue every point that I did everything perfectly, where people will point out, legitimate criticism that, hey, you messed up this part kind of thing. And, I probably, there's a good chance that I did mess up that part kind of thing. But I may have messed up that part because there was no other solution. It was either that or just break the entire game kind of thing. And, sometimes you have to take the lesser of two evils kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's another thing right there.
And sometimes it's just that it's something I overlooked kind of thing. And it's like, hey, we could actually improve the game there. And then, I make an update and be like, yeah, here we go. There we go. The end continuous sucks. Mm-hmm. And we... now I'm distracted. Completely lost my train of thought there.
There we go. Now we ought to distract Shark. Just you guys know what to do now going forward. There we go.
I like how Forward said the question mark was an accident. Most people are distracted by, hey, shiny, and they point over there. I'm distracted by, Near Continuous sucks.
I already hate the game? that should be a quote for a review of it on Steam.
Yeah.
I already hate the game? And better yet, make that the positive review.
Yeah, that's totally it. I already hate the game? It's positive review. With like 5,000 hours played.
Mm-hmm. That's your safely extreme for the today, people.
Yeah, there it is. 200,000 hours. He hasn't cut off his computer since the game was pre-development.
Mm-hmm. All right, but yeah, I do have to get going for tonight. But I think this was a really great discussion. I wasn't sure this would be a full length one, but we somehow did, as always.
Yep, we tend to pull that off.
Mm-hmm. All right, everybody, we are going to wrap things up for this week. As always, you want to continue this discussion? The topic in the Game Wisdom Discord will be updated tonight. And if you have suggestions for future show topics, please let us know either on our Discords or in the comments down below.
Yeah,
you can follow.
Oh, go ahead.
I was saying you can follow me on Twitter at GWBlaster as well.
Yeah, and you can follow me on Twitter at NexusGamesInc. There's also a link to that, as well as a link to my YouTube channel and a link to my Discord in the description down below, both in recorded and in not recorded, live. The opposite of recorded. And come and join me on Discord.
And we'll do game streaming now as well.
Yeah, well, a little bit. I do 1 day a week on game streaming. I stream a game. I do game streams on Tuesdays. I do. We do our dev streams where I work on the game and show you all what we're working on, kind of thing. On Fridays, kind of thing. And then, of course, this is streamed both on your channel and my channel at the same time on Sundays.
Mm-hmm. And we will be back next Sunday around 4:30 for hopefully our regular time stream. We'll see and get things working there. But that is going to do it. So everybody, be sure to come back for daily discussions on game design here and on Game Wisdom. where examine the art and science of games, and say that Neon Continuum is pay to win as well. All right, everyone. Until next time, take care.
See ya.
Yeah, I think that was a really good one. I think you got the perfect review for Neon Continuum there.
Yeah.